Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Excited to jump into this series. It's been a little bit in the making. Last month, we ended up canceling the February call and kicked that to March. And with that, the March, April, and May series is what we've been building towards and looking forward to. So excited to have you on this afternoon and happy spring to everybody. Happy spring. Give it about a minute to let everybody get joined. I see the number climbing. Drop in the chat where you're coming from. And somebody can drop in the chat. Awesome. Hey, Stephen. Somebody can drop in the chat if you can hear me okay. I'm guessing you can. Stephen's answering, so that's good. One time I talked for about 3 minutes with no audio before I looked at a chat and somebody said they couldn't hear me. So awesome. Good stuff. All right. Mississippi, Indiana. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Hear me loud and clear. Great. Good stuff. All right. Several still joining. I know it's a Monday afternoon getting in from, all right, Virginia. Awesome. Represent the great Commonwealth here. Awesome. Cool. Numbers still climbing. I don't want to jump in too soon, but we have a lot of ground to cover, and it is a Monday afternoon, and we've got a big week. This week we'll be in Virginia Beach tomorrow for a mini energize, and then up in Maryland for a few sales trainings, and excited for kicking off the Energy for Sales cohort in Northern Virginia later in April, and looking at doing one virtually, completely virtually, possibly later in the year. So you guys let me know if you're interested in that. But everybody, thank you for being here. This is being recorded. If you jump in a little bit later, we'll get this out to everybody. Just real quick though, if you've not subscribed yet to the Energy for Sales YouTube channel, that's where all of these recordings land. So this training once a month, Energy for Sales training, is open to what I call the trifecta: real estate agents, mortgage bankers, and title agency sales teams. And I have the blessing and privilege to coach a lot of folks in the trifecta. And so every time we're in person, especially if I'm out of state, then somebody will ask, hey, where can I access more of your trainings? And so this is kind of a catch-all for everything. So if you're specifically in the title industry, we have a call in every month on the third Thursday that's specifically designed for title agency sales. But this one we zoom out a little bit and we do a lot more on just the sales acumen, sales, what I like to call the fundamentals of sales. And so this is absolutely a great resource and something I enjoy doing. But please, if you're a title agency sales rep, although the third Thursday is geared more towards title agents, this one is a great call to invite some of your real estate agents and mortgage banking friends too. I believe my buddy Sam Trimble says, a rising tide raises all ships. And when we can share knowledge around the trifecta, and my partnership with F&F, Fidelity National Financial, it helps to increase the entire, what I call the whole footprint. So sales empowerment to the entire channel. So guys, I just want to thank you for being here. I noticed some names from the Atlantic Bay group. Thank you guys. It's been a great couple months with you guys coaching, and I noticed some folks with real estate brokerages that we've recently been working with and speaking for. So thank you guys for being on the call today, and then some of my F&F homies here on the call. Thank you guys for being here, and then some of our valued title companies all throughout the Mid-Atlantic and beyond. So thank you guys for joining. Excited to get this thing kicked off. So reimagining prospecting, right? What are we talking about when we talk about prospecting and reimagining? I believe that prospecting, as I coach sales teams, I hear from many different folks, prospecting it kind of feels like this like elusive goal. And what I mean by that, it kind of that weight, you have that weight loss goal in mind at the beginning of the year, and like you get a quarter through the year, and it's kind of like, where am I at? I have this gym membership that's coming out of the bank every month. I haven't been for several weeks. I've fallen off the wagon, and my eating clean initiative kind of ended mid-February, and I'm just kind of back to like, where am I at? I started too many things all at once. I'm just kind of lost, right? Anybody like that, right? I mean, whether it's a weight loss goal, that's the one we typically just point to as coaches. It just seems to always be the weight loss goal, but it just seems like that one has the most metrics around it. Any goal for that matter. It could be reading, it could be more exercise, it could be more, just growth in the community, maybe a relational goal, whatever it is. It can often feel very, very similar to prospecting, to a sales goal. Why? Because just take the word prospecting out for a minute. At the end of the day, it's a growth goal. At the end of the day, the same habits and disciplines required in basic life to grow something are required in sales to grow something. So I think we throw around a lot of words and a lot of cliches in sales, and that's fine. But I kind of want to rethink and reimagine prospecting, and together talk about a high-tech, high-touch approach to faster and better connection. Okay, but in doing that, we're gonna loop in some technology. We're gonna loop in obviously the high personality that I believe people are craving nowadays, and the humanity that I think AI is creating a vacuum for. Like we have more opportunity to reach out and stand out as humans than ever before. But I really want to focus in on the sales fundamental of what prospecting is, and really drill down to some of the disciplines that are needed. Because at the end of the day, I believe it comes down to there is no easy button. There's no easy button. And the problem right now is we're being sold so many easy buttons with AI and all the plugins and integrations and all this. And we're being sold so many easy buttons through marketing companies. And hey, this list right here will generate all this business, and this solution over here will just. But what we fail to recognize often is that there is an absolute necessity for a sales conversation with whatever solution we have, product we have, service we have. There is a necessity for a sales conversation to articulate value, and that articulation starts from the get-go of connecting with another human being. And we can't even begin exchanging value until we have established connection. So I like to say, I like this: better connection equals better sales. Just like better ingredients equals better pizza, right? Remember the Papa John's commercial. So I want to dig in. We're going to do this in 3 parts. So today we're going to talk about new lead sources, because I believe in order for us to grow, to reimagine prospecting, we can't just keep prospecting the same lists. We have to at some point expand. If you're in a pup tent and you're going to grow into a bigger tent, your family grew, you're going to have a bigger tent. What is that going to be? It's going to be more stakes in the ground. It's going to be more ground covered, right? So we're going to expand our tent. We're going to grow our book of business, and we're going to do that by looking at some possible new lead sources, okay? That's the way to grow in sales, new lead sources. We're going to talk about that today. In April, we're going to talk about current clients and past clients. Current clients and past clients. I will tell you that there's a statistic that says 90-something% after a closing happens, 90-something% of the consumers say they would use their real estate agent again, and only about 17% do. And that's not because the consumer decided somewhere down the road, you know what, it wasn't that great of an experience, I'm not going to use them again. It's simply because the real estate agent fell off their radar, and another real estate agent who's prospecting them came on their radar, was more top of mind, stayed sticky with them, and earned their next deal. So in sales, there's no different. It's no different. There's no difference, right? We are whatever line of work you're in. Prospecting is new lead sources and also current and past clients. So next month, we're going to dig into current and past clients. You say, Tim, why current? Because every current client has referral capability. And one sales mentor a long time ago told me, he said, Tim, he said, learn to ask early and ask often. Learn to ask early and ask often. And we've kind of built a kind of little formula for asking early with a current client. It's a really fun way to do it. We'll break that down next month, how to ask for referrals early and often, and how to go back to your past customers with gratitude but value and generate higher trust and a continued conversation and even referrals from past clients. So we're going to talk about that in April. And then in May, we're going to really dig in, and this one is gold, but we're going to dig into building our referral network, building a impenetrable referral network. Listen, there are people out after your referral network, just like you're out after your referral network. And what I found from coaching in the entire trifecta is a mortgage banker gets asked by a lot of people for a referral. But that same mortgage banker will tell me, I usually have one or two that I favor giving that referral to. And they've told me why. We're going to break that down, how to be impenetrable and sticky with your referral partners, how to be the go-to referrer. Like they want to refer people to you. How do you establish that? How do you ensure that's happening? So we're going to talk about that in May. All right. So as we get going here, I just want to say welcome. The QR code up on the screen is if you haven't registered for all of these, you have to register one time and get the invite in your inbox, and it'll populate your calendar for you. Hopefully that makes it easy for you guys. But one note with May, we'll be moving that one up to the third Monday because of the Memorial Day holiday. So just one quick note there on May for scheduling. But let's dig in today, guys. I'm excited for this one. And I want to, this quote, I wanted to share this first because when it comes to prospecting, there are a lot of reasons, right? And when I poll people, there's a lot of reasons that salespeople fail at prospecting, but the top three, well, let's look at the top one reason first. Fear of rejection. Fear of rejection. A lot of people, salespeople, don't prospect, not because we're too busy, but because the fear of rejection is a real fear. And I'm going to level with you guys. I have the same fear. I don't think you ever overcome the fear of rejection. I think you can absolutely reframe what the fear of rejection really is. Number two, lack of target client. This is just simply a lack of understanding of like, who is my ideal client? And which actually, that leads us into reason number three, which is impersonal messaging. I think impersonal messaging stems from not really understanding our target client, like who makes a good client for us. Because when we don't understand that, then the messaging just starts becoming generic and blah. It just becomes too much because we're saying too much. We're trying to incorporate everybody instead of really drilling down. Somebody said the fear of losing the masses is actually what drives us to lose the one. When really, if we focused in on one, we'd actually get more. It wouldn't be the masses, but it would be a whole lot more because there's a lot of people with those same issues and struggles and problems, just like that one we're after. So let's just understand as we're getting into prospecting and reimagining it, that reimagined prospecting is also about reframing and rethinking about how we get in our own head sometimes. Again, if you're in real estate services, the underwriting side, the title side, mortgage side, real estate, you're managing an entire business. You're a business owner. You're wearing multiple hats. You're managing agency. You're managing, file opens. You're managing a team. Like we're all managing our own business, essentially. So where does prospecting even fit in? But it's shocking to me that the top three reasons are not a lack of time. It's often when we fear something we procrastinate in that something and we find something else to replace it. So the first thing I want to say, if you got, anybody has to hop off early, the first thing I want to say is if prospecting is not scheduled, it will not get done. If prospecting is not scheduled, it will not get done. When I coach sales teams, the first thing we start looking at is, within the first, few trainings, we're looking at calendar management. Calendar management, some people say time management. I don't know. Time management, time is fleeting and people take my time all the time. I get calls, I get texts, I get notifications, I get social DMs, I get emails, and you're the same way. You're no different. You're getting pulled in all these different directions. So instead of trying to manage my time, I'm more like what are my priorities? What are my high value activities? Prospecting being like number 1 or 2 at the top of the list to keep our business going strong and growing year over year. I have to prioritize prospecting. But if my priority does not land on my calendar, then it will not get done. So my first initial challenge before we dig in is, do you have prospecting prioritized on your calendar? And how often is that? Is it as often as you want it to be? If it's not, who do we need to have conversations with internally to ask for support so that we can get prospecting as frequent as we know it needs to be and as we want it to be in order to hit our sales goals? Okay. So I just want to challenge you there. We're going to, at the end of the training today, we're going to dig into a prospecting self-analysis. We'll go through the questions. I'll send you guys the link. You can take this on your own time. After you take it, there will be a link that's sent to you only after you complete it, because when you complete it, those results will come to me. And at the very end, you have a link to schedule a 30-minute one-on-one with me. I would love to do that with anybody on this call today, just to walk through like your prospecting goals, what's getting in the way. Because I know listen, I'm talking a little generically today. I accept that. Like the whole trifecta of real estate, plus a few buddies outside the industry. I have a buddy in healthcare who joins me every now and then, and I've got some buddies in other industries that join on this call. It can only be so specific, right? Talking to a broad group, but some one-on-one to dig into your prospecting, your time on the calendar. Hey, Tim, do you think this will work? Does this make sense? Hey, in my market, are these good areas to be looking at for new lead sources? Those sorts of things, just have a second set of eyes. Very, very vitally important. So I want to offer that up to you guys. At the end, we'll go through the analysis together and I'll send the link to you. All right. Anyhow, let's keep moving. So before we get into new lead sources, here's what usually happens. We start mining a certain lead source. And because we don't have an organized database, we don't have a place, we don't have a repository, or maybe we have an old Rolodex. Right? No, I'm just kidding. But I still do. I still have like books on my shelf with, anybody remember business cards? I still have like books on my shelf full of business cards. These things are the bomb, man. I mean, organized, alphabetized, everything. I have like books and books and books of these. Now, here's the thing. Technology and automation has come so far so fast, and there are literally tools at our fingertips. But the number one thing I want to say today is CRM. CRM, customer relationship management. It's all about relationship. We want more customers, and are we managing that well? Okay. Now, somebody says, Tim, my company does not pay for an actual CRM. Truly, I'm coaching some teams that they don't have a CRM. They're looking at different CRMs, but they don't. And I never fault any small business for not having a CRM. Most will have like a production platform where they're doing their work through a production platform, and that's catching every client. They have reports they can pull. Should those reports be in a nice CRM somewhere, ready to go, yes, 100%. But one thing I do know is I've seen companies with the most sophisticated CRMs fail, whereas somebody that didn't have a sophisticated CRM thrived. And it all came down to discipline. How am I using my system? The one I have in front of me. I will tell you this, if you're a sales rep on here, or a real estate agent on here, or a mortgage lender on here, and you don't have a sophisticated CRM, or the company doesn't have a CRM, or you are your own company, you're an indie agent, and you're like, I don't have, grab an Excel and just start putting your data in so that you can do a few things. And I'm going to break that down. Like, what's important in an actual CRM? What's important in prospecting, Tim? What's important so that I can quickly manipulate the data so I can quickly see what I need to do with this set of humans, like this set of contacts. All right, number one, you need to be able to segment and sort. You need to be able to segment and sort. When you get a prospect, any prospective lead in your system, how are you going to be able to sort very quickly to understand what do I need to do with this person next? Okay, that's so key. How can I quickly assess what I need to do with this person next? That's what drives me nuts when I get into a CRM and it's just complicated and too many buttons, or for better or for worse, just not enough training around it. It's usually not the CRM's fault. It's usually the operator's fault. I've been plenty times the operator here. So I'm with you guys, right? But here's the thing. You get a new lead. Where does it go? Okay, goes in the database. First name, last name, phone number if you have it, email if you have it, where you found the lead. All right. 5 quick things and the notes you have so far on that lead. A little bit of research you did. What can you tell me about this person, right? So you log that somewhere, okay? CRM. But then how are you going to go sort that later to know where they're at in your pipeline, okay? So I'm going to break this down pretty quickly. Try to keep it simple. With a prospect, you need red, yellow, green. I learned this a long time ago from the Toyota production system called the TPS in the automotive space. The reason why Toyota outsold every other automotive company was not because they were the most techy. It's because out on the floor, they had red, yellow, and green sticker, like labels, cards. Green meant great. Yellow meant there's an issue about to happen. Red meant we're down. And on every line, it was a red, yellow, green light. On parts bins, it was red, yellow, green. Everything coded red, yellow, green. So I learned this early on. And when I took it into sales, it really made a lot of sense. So with prospects, here it is. Red, I've not made contact yet. I've not made contact yet. Now, if you're selling business to business, right? You're selling into a business. I've not made contact with the owner or with a decision maker yet. That's how you would code that. But red just means that. If you're selling to a customer, you're a real estate agent selling to a home buyer or seller, you've not made contact yet. And if you made contact with the husband and you think really it's the wife who's the decision maker here, then it still stays red until you get a chance to meet the decision maker, who you deem the decision maker is. All right. So prospect, red, no contact. Yellow, I've made contact, but no decision has been made yet. I've made contact, but they're still thinking about me, right? They're still thinking about whether they're going to use me or not, right? There's no commitment yet. So yellow is just that. They're in the middle. Green is they've made commitment. They've made commitment. Now, why would you code a prospect green? Because a commitment saying, yes, I'm going to buy from you does not mean they've bought from you yet. Until that first contract comes through, they're not a customer. So with prospects, it's a red, yellow, green, very simply, because now you know how to go execute on the pipeline. Now, with your current clients, and we're going to just touch on this one briefly because we're going to touch on this more next month. But I break it down by A, B, and C. Okay, A is growable and approachable, accessible, relational, partner mentality. Growable, and they have a partner mentality. Okay, you can grow with this agent or with this client, and they also have a sense of partnership. They're easy to talk to. They're not rude to me. They're not always looking for the bottom line, bottom price, trying to always, navigate around my process and keeping things compliant. No, A is great partner, and they're also growable. B, they're growable, but they're hard to access. You can't access them, right? They're hard to nail down. They don't like getting on the phone with you. They took you for everything they could and some. They went to the bottom line as fast as they could. B is they're growable. You think you do more business with them, but they're just hard to get along with, right? And then C is they're not growable, and you can flip it either way. They could be accessible or not accessible, but they're just not growable, right? So C would be something that I would look at as I'm growing my sales to possibly move into like a transaction coordinator can talk, can coordinate with this person, can make sure they're getting the drips and all that. But these are great referral partners. The ones who are accessible, they're great referral partners, right? But they're just not growable. There's not a whole lot of potential with them necessarily. Okay. Things can change always, for sure. But C would just be, I'm not going to spend the most time. And we know the 80-20 principle, right? 20% of 20% of our time invested generates 80% of the business, right? And so we want to spend more time with the growables. All right. Now, so that's how I segment in the database my clients and also my prospects. Now, tagging for different solutions and opportunities and campaigns. What do I mean by tagging? So tagging would be something where in the system you can set up certain tags. Now, in Excel, I've done this successfully in the past, where you simply have columns for things. And in those columns, you put different keywords. So then you can just do a quick sort of the Excel by that column, right? So you may have an event that somebody said they want to be invited to. You could put a column for that event and just put yes in that column. And then when it comes time to invite for that event, just sort by that event column. Boom, yes, there's all your invites going out. So if you begin with the end in mind, right, you could think Excel or CRM. In sophisticated CRMs, you just add a tag, right? This event, right? And you could add the tag to that as you're putting that contact in, you can add the tag, okay? You might have a tag for, a different campaign that you're going to run, right? Interested in this farm area or interested in this type of event or, different tags. I'd say you don't have to have a million tags. You can have just some high arching buckets, but putting contacts in those different buckets. And really, I'm going to talk about communication toolbox. You'll build those tags very much so around your communication toolbox because it's going to tell you how to touch these people down the road. All right. So tagging for different solutions, opportunities, and campaigns. All right. So just think tagging. All right. Efficiencies. Is this all making sense? You guys tracking? We're good. All right. Moving through this fast. I know, but I want to get to new lead sources. So efficiencies. Here's what I demand of any CRM I'm in. Okay. I demand this of the CRM. If I don't know, I ask. And if somebody else is managing my CRM, I ask them to come show me how to do this so that I have efficiency, okay? Do not have what we call paralysis by analysis. Nothing happens until contact is made. Nothing happens until contact is made. I see people putting data in the CRM, and then when we look at, okay, what have we done with that data? What have we done with this contact? Not a lot has happened. Like on the outbound, not a lot has happened. So we don't want to get paralysis by analysis in the database. So there's where we have to look at, am I being efficient in here? So number one, we said it earlier, name, first name, last name, phone number, email, and notes. Where did I find this person? What do I know about this person thus far? Bam. Code them red, yellow, or green, or A, B, and C, and then tag them with the solution that they are going to be receiving from us down the road, or two solutions, whatever. Tag it, okay? That's organized. Now, as I move forward, as I start making contact, how am I logging my notes? Is it easy to do? Can I create tasks? Can I create the task very easily? And can I create a do by so that it's popping up in my dashboard, right? Again, I want to go back to uber simple because I still know people who are using Excel very successfully. You promise somebody something by certain date in Excel, plop that date in there. Plop the date in there. Go plop it on your calendar right away. But a CRM can manage this so much better because you just put your little calendar clicker and choose a date, and it's going to pop up in your dashboard. So every morning or once a week or twice, 3, 4 times, whatever your cadence is, you can get in here and knock out your tasks that are due that you promised. Remember, we said it's fear of rejection, and then it was not understanding our target, like who we're after, and then being too generic with our messaging. You do know the number 4 reason of failing in prospecting was follow-up. Follow-up came in number 4. Follow-up. We get confused. Where am I at with this person? We don't know how to follow up. So do-bys, setting triggers in our system, very, very critical sales discipline in order to prospect effectively and reimagine our prospecting. So do-by, so ease of note logging, task creating, do-by. Then I like to say, these are some pluses here. Mobile first. Is it easily accessible on your mobile device? Can you log in easily? Can you plug your notes in right there on your mobile device? How mobile first friendly is it? I'm a huge advocate for mobile first because as a sales professional, I believe that it is belly to belly and it is getting out in the field with people. It is getting out and talking to people. And then the more quickly I could put those notes in the system. And then when I come back to the dashboard, when I'm in my command center, my office, I could get in the dashboard and I can go dissect those notes into task creation, all generated around opportunities with them. Okay, mobile first. Social integration is a great addition if possible. Don't have to have this. Again, if you're in Excel, I would absolutely put social media as a column, and then I would go research that person on social media, find out where they show up, and make connection on the platform I deem best with that person, for that person. And then I would mark down in the social column where I connected with them. The nice thing about certain CRMs is once you plug in an email address and phone number and first name and last name, the CRM will go do some research for you and pull in their social channels. Not every CRM. If yours doesn't do it, it's okay. This is just a bonus. Either way, whether you go old-fashioned, do some social research, or it pulls it in automatically, social integration is going to be so very powerful for what we're going to go over as far as touching and lead generating and nurturing and all of the things that have to come with prospecting. People expect to be communicated with nowadays on social media. The expectation is there now. It's not like, it used to be like social stalking. It's not even stalking anymore. People expect you to know what's going on in their life by what they put on social media. Oh, and by the way, if they're not on social media, then they don't expect it there. They expect a phone call. They expect you to still do life the way we used to do life and still should be doing life. Okay. So there's a lot of hints and clues we can pick up on engagement just by the sheer presence of somebody on social media, how much they post or the lack thereof. So social integration is key. Now, AI plugins have just happened in the last year and a half, 2 years, and they're absolutely transformative. So if you have a CRM that has an AI plugin, if you have a CRM that doesn't, talk to your AI or talk to your CRM administrator. Hey, how soon am I going to have an AI plugin? I can almost promise you they're working on it. Every CRM right now is they're trying to race to catch up to get AI plugged in. And this can help with your email. If you shoot emails out through your CRM, this can help with email. If you do any form of note taking or you're doing some research in the CRM, it's all right there for you, right? So that's helpful. Now, if you're in Excel, you're not in a sophisticated system, pull your phone up, Chat GPT, AI for note organization. I'll talk about this in a little bit, but note organization and dropping it into your CRM. It's one more click, but you can talk right. I mean, the nice thing is you just talk right to your AI. Some desktop versions don't have the record button, so you can't talk to your AI on the desktop. But on your mobile first, talk to AI, dump your notes, have it organize your notes for you automatically every time. And then you just copy paste those into your CRM. Again, to go in and dissect and build out tasks all with due dates all over a certain period of time so that you are now following up with value with that person you spoke with. All right. But here's where we're at so far. We're talking about organized database. We have a contact. It's in the database. Now, what do we do with it? Like, what is the plan from there? All right. We'll get to that in just a second. Let's dig in to new lead sources. You guys ready? Somebody just drop ready. If you're still tracking, am I still coming through clear? Just drop ready for new lead sources. Awesome. Good. Thank you, guys. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so new lead sources. How to get the water, the hydration going. I'm on this kick of drinking a gallon and electrolytes. So got a half marathon coming up in May. So you guys, thank you for filling in the pauses for me there with the chat. Awesome. So number one, if you're working for an organization, any form of organization, a brokerage, a lender, you will most likely be provided with internal lead lists. Okay. Now, whether those were purchased or whether there's a corporate subscription, there are absolutely lead lists that we already have at our fingertips. That for you could be a new lead source. You say, Tim, somebody's probably already worked this lead source. Another rep, another person. Okay. So here's what I'm going to say. If you have never contacted that contact, it is a new lead. Say, if you have never talked to that contact, it's a new lead. But Tim, what if somebody has hammered them from my company before and they're mad? Okay, that's a huge what if. But you will not believe how many times a lead list that I've seen people have in front of them goes untouched because there's this fear that somebody else has already mined this lead list. Number one, the statistics are stacked in your favor. Or I should say the odds are stacked in your favor. The statistic is stacked in your... You have a great batting average because, number one, the statistics tell us that people who actually follow up on leads, it's like 90% don't. So there's a 90% chance that that lead never got more than an initial email campaign or initial something, and then it just petered out. So if you have an internal lead list in front of you, don't get hung up in your head that, oh, they've heard from our company enough. That is totally stemmed from the fear of rejection or this fear of like overdoing it or whatever. Do you know that I've never, ever been upset at any salesperson who called me or reached out to me in a human way? I'll say that one more time, and I'll really emphasize the key word. I've never been upset at the sales professional who reached out to me from a company I've had already heard from or dealt with in a human way. And ask yourself the same question, have you? What upsets us is when somebody reaches out in some gimmicky, overly formatted email, super salesy, sliming, whatever, okay? We've all felt this. Or right now, nowadays, super AI. It's just all, you could just tell somebody, a human didn't write this. That's what bugs me. And if you were in the same room, you'd be nodding your head. That's what bugs you. Or they slide into your text messages and you've never even heard from this person. You don't even have the number. And it's like, hey, and trying to sell you right away in a text. It's like, what are you doing in my text? You know what I mean? So you guys are with me on this, right? So, but why don't we go after leads right in front of us, new lead sources right in front of us that our company has for us? Probably stemming from fear of rejection. Or just fear of not knowing where to start, who to start with. So I would say the first low-hanging fruit for us, internal lead lists. We already have subscriptions to leads. We have intel in this industry. Let's start looking at some of those. Now, is there a niche? Is it on that lead list? Is there a niche of clients? Are you more commercially geared? Are you more investor geared? Are you more resident? Is there a certain niche in that list that you could go after and start talking to? Probably. So could you segment that down and start? Sure. Say the lead list has 500 leads. There's no way to go target all those leads at one time. Could you start mass emailing, mass blasting? Sure. But what are we going to look at? We're going to look at new lead sources and how to go make contact with new lead sources. Okay. So again, leverage your internal, already paid for lead lists. All right. And if you're an independent, real estate agent out there and you purchase some lead lists and you called through the first 10 and it's just no answer, dead number, keep going. Keep going. And if nothing else, hire a service to go through the 1,000 leads you have to at least get the 10 that will answer their phone and even be interested. There's some really great people out there who would call. If it's truly just you just need to cook through some numbers to see what's active, there's some great subscription services with some great, vibrant human voice that would call and say, I am working with Tim Hooper, and he's doing this training. I was just curious if you're interested. You had expressed some interest in the past. You can go to AI and help build a script for this person, right? Very human, right? And when I say script and AI, I'm not talking about go build a script and use what AI gives you. Okay, just for clarification, you can use AI to build some great questions, some scripts, and then you tailor it, put your human spin on it. What my meaning here when I say AI is use AI for the creativity aspect, not for the finality aspect. You put the final touches on and put your humanity in it. But as far as organization and structure of maybe a phone call or some questions, absolutely leverage AI. Okay. All right, let's get into some more fun stuff. Those are, again, internal lead lists. We have them. Next month, we're going to talk about going internal to our systems and pulling out past customers. We'll talk about that next month. All right, so number 2, Facebook groups. Facebook groups. I think this is something that I think gets we don't leverage well because I think number 1, we're in too many. I think we're in too many, or you're not in any at all. Maybe we're just on Facebook generically. But I think there are absolutely some local Facebook groups that you could be a part of. And here's what I would say with Facebook groups. Don't be a part of a group just to be a part of a group because you're hoping to get leads. Now, you could do that, but then you're just going to have, again, this squirrel mentality of like seeing every group as gold. And you're going to fail again because not understanding your target market is going to, you're using Facebook groups for, catch all. Instead, think about what you're passionate about already. Think about what you do well. Think about who you are as a person, your passions and your interests. And I would start with 3. And I'd find 3 groups that I could go get involved with. Like, take business out of your mind for a second. 3 local Facebook groups that I could get involved with and actually contribute and add value because I'm passionate about the same things. Okay? There's where I would start. And then watch the organic start happening. If you're commenting, I've been blamed. I'm not even an admin in a couple groups that I'm part of, and I've been not blamed. It's been assumed that I was an admin. People have reached out to me, hey, is it okay if I post this? Why do they reach out to me? Because they saw me commenting enough, posting enough. I mean, this one running group just snap a picture of a pothole, almost killed myself on this, watch out for this on such and such road, right? And it's, oh, thank you, comments, blah, 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 blah. You talk about engagement. You want to learn how engagement works on social media, go take part in a group, has nothing to do with business, and just see how it works because people are friends before they ever meet you because you care about the same thing, period. Now, why is this a new lead source? This is definitely a softer pull. When we look at internal lead lists, people who have come through our system somehow, they raised their hand for something, they were interested in the past, like those are hot lead lists in my mind because they engaged with us at some point or we bought them because they were engaging in the housing market at some point, right? When we're in a Facebook group, this is not a time for a hard sell. And so when we say new lead source, I don't want you to be like, oh, there's a name, I'm going to pounce right now. No, this is a lead source that is going to be more of a slow burn, but this is going to absolutely be something that we can engage in. Number 1, learn a lot about how engagement and communication works. See like which posts get the most engagement and do a little bit of science, like deconstruct it, even for your own social media presence and your own posting. What went well with this? How does that work, right? You can learn a lot from it. And then also number 2, just enjoy it. Be in there for the life enjoyment aspect of it. But here's the absolute thing. The direct message function on social media is very, very powerful, right? And something like, hey, I love seeing all of your posts in the group. You and I should grab virtual coffee sometime. As you know, I'm in real estate. I'm not going to get on and make a hard sell. I just want to find out if you've ever thought about, or I just noticed you just moved, just join the running group. You just moved to the area. Are you renting? Are you owning? Like, I don't mean to pry, but I care. I care about my group. Would love to jump on a virtual coffee with you and just learn, right? So Facebook groups, a little bit more of a soft sell, okay? Number 3, LinkedIn, local companies. LinkedIn, local companies. So my buddy Sam Trimble talks about this when he talks about LinkedIn. LinkedIn for me, and by the way, if we've not connected on LinkedIn, please, let's connect on LinkedIn. Shoot me a connection request, please. I would love to. That's my preferred and primary social platform. I'm on Facebook more personally, but LinkedIn for me is a gold mine. And I think if you're not working LinkedIn, you might want to add it to your 2025 sales prospecting strategy. LinkedIn right now with all social platforms is generating some of the best engagement for professionals, for real estate professionals. The reason being is just the way Microsoft has invested in it and the way that the algorithm works, unlike other platforms, the engagement for thought leadership, the engagement. Now, again, it's different than Facebook. If you're like making a ton of reels and you're making a ton of, content, you're over on TikTok, you're over on, it's going to be a little different, but you might be able to lean into some article creation. The beauty about article creation on LinkedIn is it's such a huge driver for SEO. I've had people find me by searching a couple of keywords on leadership and sales and found an article that I produced on LinkedIn. And I'm not even like some top-rated website. They found my article, landed on my page, reached out and connected because of the SEO factor. The engagement's really good. The other thing I will say is it's untouched gold because you're going to find a lot of influencers, local influencers. I'm not talking about like pop influencers. I'm talking about local business owners, people hiring, people recruiting. You're going to find Chamber of Commerce leaders. You're going to find a lot of different local influencers who you can absolutely connect with. And if you're providing any form of thought leadership on LinkedIn, they'll connect with you. And on LinkedIn, I've had executives connect with me and agree to go to coffee with me where I could have, I've called them, I shot them an email, I texted, nothing. However, on LinkedIn, they sent me a message back and it was a go. So LinkedIn is absolutely untapped. But the thing, my buddy Sam Trimble had this idea when he was doing real estate, and he would contact a local business in the area on LinkedIn, and he would look at the different people at the company. He'd find like the human resource officer, he'd find like the lead training specialist or whatever. He looked at different titles, and he'd just reach out and say, "Hey, I'm a real estate agent here in El Paso, and I'm putting on just wealth through real estate luncheons for different local companies because I'm local here, and would that be something that'd be interesting for your put up on the bulletin board and see, and I'll bring some lunch in, whatever." So or just come in during the lunch hour. You don't have to offer lunch if you're doing a low budget, but either way, he would be able to get in front of companies, in front of 12, 13 employees, and these companies who are growing and recruiting, maybe moving people in. I mean, it's a great idea, right? So that was a Sam Trimble idea. But as far as just whether you reach out to the local company or not, LinkedIn is a great strategy for sure. Instagram, TikTok. I know some real estate agents who have told me they do location-based hashtags, right? So they'll search a hashtag that's pretty common to like the 757 or and they'll search and they'll see what's happening. You see people touring, you see people visiting. You can like and comment on things. Again, I'm not going to go too deep here. I think there's probably some absolute social experts on here. I am more of a expert on when it comes to the DM, the direct message, and reaching out and getting people from social to a Zoom conversation, a face-to-face. As far as your engagement strategy, there's some location-based hashtags. There are absolutely some groups that you can follow and you can comment on different people's posts. Again, you can slide into a direct message, but again, it's going to be more of that soft sell. So I think LinkedIn, you can go a little harder sell because people are on LinkedIn to do business, to recruit. And as long as you're providing value, you absolutely can go in a little harder. All right. Let's talk about number 5, community networking. Chambers of commerce. I worked the Chamber of Commerce very, very hard a few years when I was growing my coaching business, and absolute payoff. I think the Chamber was probably my predominant or my preferred, I should say, networking locally because it pulled multiple. It pulled, they have a real estate focused night, or they have a mortgage forum, or they would have a just small business network. I was able to get in front of multiple groups through through my membership with the Chamber. I just felt a bigger bang for my buck. Now, there's Rotary clubs, there's other types of clubs, there's BNI types of networking. I just found that the Chamber gave me a bigger bang for my buck. It's totally up to you, what your style, what your preference is, but definitely tap into 1, maybe 2 community networking chambers or clubs or groups. Now, these would be more of the paid groups, but there's plenty of community networking that's free opportunities. The chambers will have kind of open nights where anybody can come seeking to maybe join, right? You can still get involved and still see how you might be able to take part. But community networking is powerful. So new lead sources. You say, Tim, how do you pull new leads out of any one of these, right? So we've talked about how to pull them out of, a Facebook group. Let's just talk about a community networking, for instance, because we're not just showing up just to take part and not do anything. You might be able to sponsor something, and in sponsoring, get a list of attendees. You may be able to just volunteer and build a relationship and earn a list of attendees. I've done that. But my favorite is going in and understanding who's attending and who's the decision maker in front, for a certain group or a certain company, and going in and building a relationship from there. Leaving a networking event, a community networking event, with 3 to 10 targeted people's names that you believe you could absolutely work with. Here's what I'll say the danger with this is. You get 100 names and you feel like, man, I can't prospect all day. I can't work with them. You don't need to. Remember, the number 2 failure is not understanding your target client. You don't need to be calling on every insurance agent or financial planner or, every person in town. It's not worth your time. They're going to be calling on you probably anyway, right? So what I would do is be super focused with who in this room, if I'm doing community networking, who in this room knows the people that are moving to this town? Who in this room knows the people moving to this town? Who might be a referral partner down the road? Who might be an actual client, right? All right. Just keep that in mind. Neighborhood events. If we're talking about like listings here, neighborhood events, HOA, volunteering, school, parent teachers, like neighborhood events, or even putting on your own. I know real estate agents do a shred event, dumpster events, spring cleaning is here, guys. Like it's right here, right? Neighborhood events. How do you get to meet more people in your own neighborhood, in your own neck of the woods, or in your own farm area? Maybe host an event, right? Open houses, listing area farming. So talk about open houses, right? You got something, you're doing an open house, you got something on the market. Well, what about what about all the homes in that area, right? Farming those homes. Again, new lead sources. And then old school methods. I know plenty of folks who are still using old school methods, myself included. Door knocking, cold calling. Now, my door knocking entails more pop buying, and I always tee up the pop buy. I always tell somebody I'm coming by before I go by. And then cold calling, I don't really call it cold calling because I send video emails first. I always send a video email to warm somebody up, and then I call. The call is usually third in line. So it's always a warm call for me, and my call is always a fulfillment of a promise. I tell the person, I'm going to give you a buzz next week. And then I put on my calendar, and I buzz them next week. I say, hey, I promised you I was going to call you this week. Give me a call back when you get 3 minutes of windshield time. That's it. So there's never a cold call. But again, old school methods. You got to pick up the phone. Picking up the phone is one of the best ways to generate new lead sources. We'll talk about this next month, but talking to past customers, there's a strategic way to ask. There's a strategic way to ask on the phone for a referral, okay? New lead sources. All right, the phone does still work. And again, by the way, if you have a list, a paid internal list, and there's emails and phone numbers, I know some people are just, okay, let me exhaust this list real quick. Let me do a blast email, see who's awake. You know what I mean? And it's like blast email goes out, and there's all these phone numbers there too. So that's why I said, either paying somebody to see if the phone number's dead or alive, or making those calls yourself. And by the way, we all have a lot of drive time, right? Nowadays, we have drive time. If you're in real estate, you've got drive time between showing this, showing that. And it's great. Hey, Siri, call this number, right? Have that list right in front of you. Just call this number. Just start working down through it. Have some fun. One of the best places to have no stress on the phone is when there's the stress of like traffic. It's a higher stress than cold calling. If you're like at home, all comfortable, and in your PJs, I'm just going to work. I'm going to get comfy, get my cup of coffee, and just call through this list. You won't do it. If you are on the call and you do that, like text me, tell me, because you're a superhuman. But it's like you have to almost get uncomfortable to go make a call, right? So it's like, go get uncomfortable. I drive and call. It just works so well. Email campaigns. Email campaigns still work, but you have to mix them up with other channel touches. So emails are absolutely in the list, in the makeup. But again, we're talking about new leads, generating new leads. I'm not talking about using email once a lead has said, hey, yeah, let's go to coffee. Then yeah, absolutely an email, a calendar invite, all that. That's great email. I'm talking about just generic email campaigns where you do send out more of a hand-raising email, more of a question-based email. Are you interested? Have you ever thought of? Are you frustrated with, right? Question-based email campaigns, right? And a lot of you guys have great marketing folks, much more creative than I could ever profess to be, right? So I'm spitballing a couple of lines here, but just some great marketing campaigns. Your company probably produces, the industry produces. You're probably tapped into some subscriptions with, if you're in the title space, Alta. If you're in the real estate space, your brokerage, they are coming out with, hey, is it good time to buy, to rent? The rate's this, the rate's that. Those make great email campaigns. But the thing about an email campaign is, are you getting any bang for your buck? Are you generating new leads from that? And if not, what could you tweak in order to get some hand raisers or some responses? I think most email campaigns that I get, the call to action is buried too deep. If I'll say anything about an email campaign, put a call to action up top and then restate it down below. So, hey, would you be interested, would you be interested in something like this? Spell it out, and then here's where you register. Ask a question, get them engaged up top, call to action up top. Email campaigns work for new lead gen if done right. And should absolutely be part of the mix. What about like if you have a YouTube channel or another channel? I know some people have great TikTok presence. What kind of comments are you getting? And when you get a comment, they engaged with you. Are you sliding into a direct message with them? If they look like a qualified lead, are you sliding into a direct message? If there's a comment on a YouTube, this is where YouTube can be very powerful when you create things like how to list your home, how to do this in the Fairfax, Virginia area. Have you ever been frustrated about this code in the Fairfax, Virginia? How to get around this certain thing? How-tos are powerful. And when people comment or like it, are you following up? Are you pulling them into some form of a message or messaging them back, at least commenting back and asking them to shoot you a direct message? Making sure that every YouTube video you post, you put your email, your phone number, and everything in that description, right? For them to connect with you. New lead sources. Google My Business. We talked about Google My Business before on one of these calls. We'll probably bring it back again. It's come a long way. And I think with some of the things going on, corporately with, some of the review platforms, I think Google My Business still shines as the ultimate trusted source for consumers. I think if you haven't leaned into Google My Business, please consider that as well. As I said, LinkedIn. Here's another one I would really lean into in 2025, Google My Business. I believe with the posting that you can do on Google My Business, with the reviews and the interaction with reviews you can do, and just again, the consumer trusts Google reviews the highest. I think it's a big bang for your buck. But when somebody leaves a review, are we commenting back? Are we trying to pull them into a conversation, or at least ask them, what more can we do to help you? Thank you for the review. Anybody else? Thank you. Those are so kind words. Who else do you know that we could be of service to? Please send their name our way, right? Just being creative instead of just a thanks so much for the kind review, which is great. But who are we? Like, who are we? Let me kind of just go off topic for a minute. I remember, never forget, my boss of 10 years, his mom was Mary Kay super. Like, she was Mary Kay long term, and she drove the pink Cadillac. She'd pull in with the pink Cadillac. And I asked her one day, I said, and I'm just I think I was like 20 at the time. I was like, how did you get to be so successful? She said, because everybody knew that I sold Mary Kay. I wore Mary Kay. I am Mary Kay. I'll never forget that. Everyone knew I sold Mary Kay, but more than that, I wore Mary Kay, and more than that, I am Mary Kay. If they even thought makeup, they thought me. And that was so resonating with me. And she was a very sweet, kind lady. Like, I was obviously an enthusiasm and light inside of her. She obviously had, massive amounts of internal work and depth and heart behind her. So I don't want to just say she was just great at sales. She was a great human being. But she had this internal belief that I'm not just going to be satisfied with that sale. I'm going to be in a relationship because this is who I am. And so I think that the side note here would be, this is who I am. That review comes in, it's like, I got another review. Now I got another potential new lead. It's like, thank you. Who else do you know that we could be of service to and do as good a job for? Thank you for these kind words. Oh, that means so much to me. You see, just that little bit of like, I'm going to replant. My wife grows plants, and one of my favorite plants, because it costs zero money, are the propagating plants. And she's got these plants, they'll split off and propagate. Man, hydrangeas. You just take a hydrangea branch, you take one branch off the hydrangea plant, put it in the dirt, plop some dirt on top of it, and boom, you got another plant like next year. It's incredible. And don't ever buy one hydrangea and then start propagating. All right, enough of that. But here's what I mean. Every comment, every review, every good piece of news that another satisfied client, that is potential new lead source. All right, Google my business. Online forums. Have you ever thought about taking part in an online forum like Reddit or Nextdoor and just answering some hyper local news, some hyper local, real estate forums? Just again, finding those hyper local things to plug into. Here's what I would also ask. Ask a new lead when they become a customer. And big corporations do this well. Where did you hear about us? Where did you find us? I would ask that, like, what resonated? What of what we put out there? What did I put out there originally that resonated with you? I would ask those questions because it's going to really help you zoom in and drill down on what works for you. Now, there's a list of 13 things here, and I put other because there's absolutely no way you could build an exhaustive list for new lead sources. But here's what I do know. For every one of us, 3, 4, maybe 5 of these things really work well. And some of these things won't work well. Depends on who you are and what works for your habits. The biggest thing here is, which ones are you going to pick and go do consistently? Okay? Lead lists have more names, more opportunity in my mind. You have social media where there's a lot of names, but it's a little bit of a slower cook. It's like a crock pot, right? So you want to be engaged in those because that's going to be popcorn down the road. But you got to get that oil hot. You got to get that popcorn popping. Okay. LinkedIn local companies, powerful. I can get in front of multiple people, larger crowds. Local companies, add value to them. They're looking for local resources. And I bet you no real estate agent has reached out, right? So just think about, or lender, mortgage banker, think about how can you add value to a lead list in front of you, a company in front of you, a community networking event in front of you. How can I add value? All right, let's dig in a little further into what does it look like, Tim? Now that I have a lead, now I have a new lead. What does it look like? What is the process? What is the framework for going about drilling in with them? Well, I have to ask this question. Why or when does a prospective client decide to make a change or begin looking? Why or when? Now, the why is pretty easy because we have a lot of data, right? Oh, they were unhappy with their past real estate agent, or out of 10 real estate agents, they chose me because, I did something different or better, right? The why is often easier to articulate. The when isn't. We don't know when. We don't know when. So this is where it's so critical in prospecting to understand prospecting takes relentless perseverance. Prospecting takes a relentless perseverance, but prospecting also takes a belief. And that's where reimagined prospecting comes into play. Because I believe with reimagining our prospecting, we believe, here's the belief, that we can absolutely accelerate the change. When and why and when do they make a change? Okay, I know most of the whys because I've heard enough. But when? Oh, it's just a matter of timing. We know this. So it's like, okay, if that's true, then how can I, as a sales professional, help accelerate that change if they make a change? And how do we help anybody make a change? It's through thoughtful actions designed to help them do 3 things. Discover opportunities they're missing. Okay. Risks they have, or ideas worth exploring with us. Now, you'll notice none of these said that their service provider sucks. Their current service provider sucks. Nope, it's not on here. In fact, if you go tell somebody their current, no, people may make a change when their current service provider sucks enough. Then they might make a change. Or somebody goes out of business, or somebody's not picking up their phone. Like we know that's the why. But that's when they change on their timetable. People will change faster, and it's proven. The people in sales who make the highest incomes help people change faster. They accelerate by helping them discover opportunities they haven't even thought of yet, or they don't even know they're missing out on. Help them discover opportunities. What do you do in your marketplace that creates opportunities for people? Have you helped them discover an opportunity? Have you connected them with somebody, a resource you have, a connection you have that's an opportunity for them? You say, there's nothing in that for me, Tim. That's great. It's an opportunity for your client or your prospective client. They may be missing out on. Have you reached out proactively to say, hey, I want to connect you with so-and-so because based on what you told me here, I think that this could be an opportunity for you. Watch your business grow. What about risks they have? Maybe they don't know about the risk yet. Maybe there's something coming out, the FinCEN thing coming out. There's some targeting or there's some change in the legislative, there's some law, Virginia just came out with the, transfer on death, the things that the risk they may have if they don't know about this change and they don't get ahead of it. How can I help them? Right? Being in the know, being a resource, not being a know-it-all, not throwing legalese at people, but just saying, hey, have you heard about? Would a quick conversation on this be of value to you? I'm helping my clients right now navigate X, Y, and Z. Would love to, right? Risks they have. Risks they have. The biggest one for me, and I tell this story, you guys have probably heard it before, but I'm going to tell it again. I come from a very large family. When I say large, it's not a family. It's like a small army, okay? And I have told every real estate agent I've worked with over 5 real estate transactions that I've done, and in the last 4 years, 4.5 years, 3 of those real estate transactions, as I've purchased some homes for family members. But here's the thing. I've talked about the large family, and not a single real estate agent has asked me, like, are you ever thinking about, like, relocate? Any of your siblings thinking about relocating? Like, Tim, you come from a large family. And then thinking about relocating in the beautiful Commonwealth of Virginia. I don't know what it is, but the idea worth exploring with us, it has no sale attached to it. And so I feel like a lot of sales professionals miss when it comes to ideas worth exploring with us. One of my favorite things to do is reach out and say, hey, I'm thinking about putting on a training, or I'm thinking about this. Would you be interested if we put this on? It's not even a done deal. I might not even do it, but I want to gauge interest. Hey, I have an idea. I want to run it by you. I want your thoughts on this. Reaching out to somebody in my database about their thoughts on something. Holy cow. No sale attached to that. And that's, I think, why it's the hardest thing to do. But somebody said it like this, and please don't miss this. Whoever wins the most sales conversations will win the most business. I'll say it again. Whoever wins the most sales conversations wins the most business. And that's where ideas worth exploring with us comes into play. It's a sales conversation. So with that, let's talk about a communication toolbox really quickly. We're going to come back to this one next month in depth, because your communication toolbox is a great way to reach out to past clients. But here's why I want to highlight it now, because as you're engaging with prospective clients, new leads, as you're reaching out, generating new leads, you need to do what Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. And here's why a lot of sales professionals don't reach out. What do I say if they say yes and they're not ready for a sale? They're not ready to list their home. They're not ready to buy a home. What will I say then? Think about your value stack. Think about your communication toolbox. Think about what you have that they will find value in. Number one, do you have a consistent high value drip? Something that goes out on a consistent basis. Whether you have a social media channel, a YouTube how-to that drops every month, you have a reel that you post every Monday that they'll just find value in, or you have an email that goes out once a quarter. It doesn't matter, but do you have a consistency? And the biggest key here is the consistency is cool, but can you articulate what's in it for them? What's in it for them? Okay. B, are you highlighting for first timers? What do you mean by that, Tim? Okay, I have seen so many real estate agents or lenders say, hey, I'm going to send you this thing. And it's perfect. They get them on this communication trip, which is great, but they never highlighted it for the first time. And this is where a tag in your CRM is so critical. First time calm. First time calm. So when your next marketing email goes out, run a report for your tag first time calm and send every one of them a text message that says, hey, check your email. You just should have received my X, Y, and Z must read for home sellers email that just landed in your inbox. Check your promotions. It might be there. That is a highlighter. Do you know how many great people have sent me stuff that I found years later because it was buried in some algorithmic folder that Google set up for me I didn't even know about? And you all are shaking heads. You found the same thing, right? You're like, oh, yeah, yep, I know. I mean, some of you have probably found my emails in your promotions folder. I do my best to highlight those to every sales professional that I coach and train. I work to highlight, are you getting these? Our F&F reps work to highlight, are you getting these communications? Why? Because we're getting hammered all over. So when this communication goes out, I'm highlighting it for the first timers. And then see, does it stand out? Does it stand out? Is your communication blah? Is it blending in like everybody else? Or does it stand out? I have 3 T's on this one. Team. Are you getting your team's voices involved? Because I think people can get tone deaf after a little while. I'll admit, like I send out a lot of video emails, and so I'm like, how can I incorporate my team or do a podcast with somebody in the industry? Maybe there's an economist, or maybe there's a mortgage banker I could interview, and I could send out a little blip of that interview in my next communication. So who's on my team? And think collective in this industry team, not just your company team. Although some in your company could absolutely do an awesome job articulating something for some your prospective client that would make a lot of sense in the way they say it, right? I could be too much for some people. Having an attorney like slow down and say it like this could absolutely generate change, right? And then think timing, like relevant, what's happening in the industry. What's important to people right now? Price of eggs, 9 bucks for 18 eggs. Like, I'm not saying go harp on the egg thing. The news media is doing that enough, but what is important right now to people? Think timing. And is my subject line hitting that timing for them? And then think technology. I've had multiple people reach back out simply for the fact that I sent a video email. And I don't want to continue or continuously preach email video because I think you need some emails that aren't video, a lot of emails that aren't video. But when you're initially reaching out to somebody, they've never heard your voice yet. So to just put a smile and a face in your vocals will now put every bit of your conversation after that, which is just text exchange, into perspective. They will now hear your vocals while they're reading your emails after. So that initial reach out, put some vocals with it. All right. Number 2, consistent high value events. If you're doing events, can you do something more consistent? And are they adding a lot of value to the people that you're trying to get in front of in your community, maybe online? And remember, it's not just about the event. Every event creates more communication opportunities. You could do hey, here's stuff to know about the event. Here's frequently asked questions. And then, hey, after the event, here's what a lot of people took away from the event or asked for at the event. I thought this would be valuable to you too. And by the way, here's our next event, right? So it creates some communication opportunities. Then some annual touches and birthdays and anniversaries. I mean, if you can capture a birthday and anniversary, and if you're connected with somebody on social media, every morning it offers up the birthdays, like opportunity to get on. And I get in direct message and I do voice memos. So it's just a voice memo, happy birthday, right? On social media. Anniversaries, if you've done business, we'll talk about this next month when we talk about past clients. But anniversaries are a great time to touch people. But this might just be an anniversary. Maybe when you met them, you both were in the new members class at Chamber, right? New members class. And it's just, hey, here's our 1-year anniversary of the Chamber, or something along those lines. Just anniversaries are fun. Anniversaries around an event, maybe a marathon you did together or something along those lines, right? I had a great, one of my highest paying customers one year was somebody I ran the last 2 miles with at a marathon. Never knew this person from Adam. The last 2 miles in the marathon, and then we're doing business together, right? So again, talk about lead sources, right? Just in life. What did my boss's wife say? I am Mary Kay. She just talked about it, right? One-off communication. So calls, text, social DMs. These are three T's for me. All right. So just the one-off stuff in my brain is like thinking of. So I'll see a sign, like a street sign, and it's the person's name. I'll snap a selfie, text it, thinking about you. I was walking by, Sam T Street or whatever, right? Um, thoughts on, thoughts on. Hey, I want your input on something. Give me a buzz, right? Thoughts on. And then test out. This is where I will say, ask for the business. Communication toolbox. If it's just dripping in one way, your one-off communication absolutely should be more about the two-way. Thinking of this or thinking of you, thoughts on, I want your input. And then, hey, when are you going to try us out? I've loved hanging out with you as social. I love what you're up to. When are you going to test this out? When are you going to give us a shot at your business? I want a shot at your business. People should feel so loved around you, and you can absolutely, with that knowledge that you're grateful to be doing life with them and you're adding value, connecting them where you can, being a resource where you can, you absolutely can have the confidence to say, hey, give us a try. Ask for the business. New lead sources do not turn into business sources until we ask for the business. And as we end, this quote resonated with me so much. A prospect is not a prospect until they've shared a piece of proprietary information with you. Okay. It sounds a little corny maybe, but who cares? A prospect is not a prospect until they've shared a piece of proprietary information with you. What does that mean? That means that there is a two-way conversation going. Two-way conversation. Okay, so if there's a two-way conversation, Tim, what are the steps? Here are the steps, okay? In our new lead source, we've identified a new lead. We've done a little bit of research on them. Number two, we have to make initial contact. This is what I call a one outcome sequence. I did an entire training last week on one outcome sequencing. Better connection, saying the same thing over and over in multiple ways on different channels. I want to meet with you briefly. I have some value I want to share with you. I have something I think you'll find interesting. Can we meet? We can do it virtually or in person. Can we meet? Reaching out again a week later. Can we meet? One outcome sequence. If you don't make that first engagement, they do not respond, skip to step 7. Hey, I'll reach out in a few months, but I'm going to be sending you my monthly email for home buyers. Let me know if you don't want to receive this, but hopefully you'll find some value and then we can reconnect in a few months. So you tell somebody after a certain set of making initial contact touches in step 2, you tell them, I'm not going away, but I'm going to come back later because we couldn't make first engagement, right? We couldn't make that face-to-face happen that we're asking for. So I'm going to just send you this ongoing communication, but make sure you highlight what's in it for them, going back to that communication toolbox. Now, if first engagement is made, step 3, they say, yes, let's meet. Then number 4, we have to understand their needs, wants, opportunities, and challenges. We have to dig in. And this is where I see a lot of salespeople. I'm not going to get into that first initial visit. I have a whole sales training on that. I'll ask you guys, maybe if that's interesting, we could do that later. But you have to go in with what I call a talk to listen ratio. You have to set that. We're going to talk 10%, they're going to talk 90%, or I'm going to talk 20%, they're going to talk 80%. And my talk is going to be question-based. All questions. I want to dig in. First engagement, they gave me a shot, baby. I'm going to learn as much about them. You say, Tim, but they're not going to learn about my company. How will they ever know to buy from me? Trust me. You want to learn all about them because then you at the end will establish what your value exchange is. Hey, based on what you shared, a lot of people I've helped shared that this proprietary system that I have for listing your home, or this certain thing that I help them do, like it helped them sell, 10 days faster. No kidding. Yeah. Tell you what, could we do a deeper dive? Would that work for you if we did a deeper dive? And as a go forward, we can schedule this next thing of about an hour long, and I could go through that with you and see if that makes sense for your needs or what you're wanting to get done here. See, what we're doing there is we're exchanging value, articulating, then we're getting their agreement on go forwards. And if they say, hey, that's great, I'm not ready at this time, then it's like, okay, then you just get agreement for that ongoing communication. Then you're down to number 7. And then this is where you're going to do some of those one-off touches. touching base, thinking about you. What are your thoughts on, hey, are you ready to give us a try? So relational touch is to nurture. Okay. Number 9 would be follow up as promised from step 6. So when you establish the go forward, they say, I'm not ready yet. So what would be a good time to reach back out to you? Well, maybe August. Okay, tell you what. Last week of July, I'll ping you and set something up for the first thing week in August. And then bam, get in the CRM and set it up. Get it in there, right? And then you follow up as like a pro. And then for all those who went who didn't ever, respond back and you said, hey, I'll reach back out later. You never had two-way. It was just a one-way conversation. They never responded. You dropped them down to step 7. Now here we get down here to, and by the way, 7 relational touches still for them. You can do on social media. You can engage with people, right? But number 10, retarget. So retarget the ones who never met with you. Retarget them, but do some research again, because after 6 months, things might have changed in their life. So the reach out might look a little different. Or, hey, I'm just resurfacing this, hopefully. Hey, notice you had a big wedding. You're probably just getting back off that. So maybe not in the next couple weeks, maybe in the next couple months, right? Again, personal. Retarget, but do some research. And then attempt connection again. Do that one outcome sequence again. When you have a new lead, they land in your system. Drive for that one-on-one, that face-to-face, that meeting. All right? So we talked about organizing our database. We talked about new lead sources. We talked about our communication toolbox, which we'll come back to next month. And then we talked about the steps in the focused prospecting plan. All right. Now let's talk about Darby. Darby and his uncle rushed out to the California gold rush. You guys probably know this story. I'm going to tell it very briefly, but it's one of my favorites. They dug and dug and dug. They set up machinery. They dug. They're following a vein, an ore vein that they believe is going to lead them straight to gold. They exhaust every bit of their resource, every bit of their strength, and they get to the end of this ore, the vein that they're chasing. It disappears. Hope is exhausted. Hope is gone. They go and they say we have to make a little bit of money back from this, everything we've poured into this. And they go to a junker. The junk man was who they were called. These junk men would come and tear down machinery and sell it at scrap. But they went to the junker and they took what they could get at what he was willing to pay. They took his money and they start heading home. The junker's like, he gathered up enough information. How long had they been working? How long was this vein? Wow, like he gives them what little money he exchanged for the equipment, and then he says, So he uses that money. He goes and pays an engineer to go look at this vein with him, and they look, and this vein had taken a drastic dip downward, but literally had disappeared. But for 3 feet, he drills. This engineer says there's gold right below this. 3 feet he dug, 3 feet he drilled and hit gold. So in prospecting, I said it takes a radical amount of perseverance. In prospecting, new lead sources is where we go expand the tent. New lead sources is where we go find new veins of gold. Okay. Next month, we're going to talk about a vein of gold we're already on, current and past clients. New lead sources is where we go start mining to find those new ores. But what I will tell you is this. When somebody doesn't respond, they are not rejecting you. Don't give up. Every touch is getting you a foot closer to gold. Every touch, as long as it's valuable, ask yourself this question: am I adding value with this touch? Would I want to be touched this way? Is this valuable if I was in their shoes? If you can answer yes, send it, do it, call it, ship it, mail it, show up at it. Whatever it takes, keep drilling, baby, because you're going to have 3 feet from gold when you give up. But if you keep going, you're going to hit gold. And here's what I know. It's not a matter of rejection. My friend Jeff Bajorek says it's not a matter of rejection. It's simply a matter of attention. We haven't gotten their attention just yet, or we have, and they just haven't let us know that we got their attention just yet. So I want to thank you guys for being on today. I'm going to go get over to the survey as I promised, but Jeb Blount says it like this in Fanatical Prospecting. In fact, my team is reading through Fanatical Prospecting right now. And I love Jeb. A lot of what he says is so good. And but there is no easy button in sales. Prospecting is hard, emotionally draining work. and it is the price you have to pay to earn a high income. But what I'll tell you is some of my best friends have come through relentless prospecting. Some of my best connections, some of my best richest customers, and always the money that was there was always surpassed by this great friendship, this great relationship. So I'll just say it like this. Don't give up because there's probably a relationship waiting to happen if you'll just keep digging. So prospecting today is all about new lead sources. Which ones resonated for you guys? I would love to hear which lead source resonated for you guys. What did you say? I could go after this. In my local market, that one would make sense. Tim, you went over a lot, but these two I'm going to take out of this training today and go execute, go start moving some pieces forward on. Go ahead and drop that in the chat, and I'm going to share real quick this analysis with you guys, as I promised. And we have like 5 minutes left. I'm not going to take more than 3, but I will put this in the chat. And if I can find it here, give me 1 second. All right, you guys should see this pre-training survey. So I sent this out when I sent the email out with this. You might already have this in your inbox, but this will just take you through your time investment and challenges in prospecting currently. Then it'll take you through new lead generation, finding, engaging with new prospects. And then it'll take you through prospecting process and lead nurturing. Okay, once you have them in the CRM, how do you nurture? And then it'll take you through referral partner prospecting and growth. All right. And then a few final thoughts there that you can answer. And then a little bit more about this training. It'll take you 10 minutes if you carve out the time. And then once you fill it out, at the next screen, it'll give you my booking link where you could book a 30-minute one-on-one. And I would absolutely love, guys, listen, for me, the training is just one piece of it. The one-on-one where we roll up our sleeves and go to work for your business, that's where the partnership happens. That's where a lot of friendships are spawned from. And so I would really value the chance to get to meet you guys and work with you in that way. And I'm going to drop this link in the chat for you guys. There you go. So it's there. Again, this went out via email as well. And then next month, please don't miss. You guys probably have a title production software, an internal mortgage banking software. You have reports at your fingertips. We're going to go over the reports to run and how to go. And these are some of the best conversations because these people already know you, but how to go have conversations to generate new business from past and current clients. So we'll see you guys in April, the last month, the 4th Monday in April at 1:30 p.m. But thank you guys for joining today. Again, Reimagined Prospecting. It's not a sport for the faint of heart, but I will tell you, when the heart gets faint, it's great to have a community around you. And look at everybody in the chat today, everybody on. You guys have a community. Thank you for being part of the Energy for Sales community. We'll get this recording up on the YouTube channel. You can rewatch a piece of it. If there's a piece that really resonated, go back and watch or share it with somebody. And we'll see you guys back next month. Take care, everybody.